cloud. I hope they're.
This meeting is being recorded.
There we go.
Okay, this is Don Diehl, and it's September the 12th, 2022, the day after a day that we promised we would never forget, when the Twin Towers came crashing down in Manhattan and the United States of America was under attack. Everything has changed since then. And we are at a pivotal point, I believe, right now. And I'm talking today to a candidate for public office seeking to unseat a man by the name of Chuck Schumer. Most people will understand in a heartbeat why we want to expose him. And we have a candidate here, Diane Sare. Now, did I pronounce that right? Is it?
Yes, that's
okay.
right. Diane
And I've
Sare.
asked her to tell us a little bit about herself, why she's running for office, and why it is so important that she has your support and our support in helping her in this mission to help us save America and probably the world if we could get rid of some of these bad leaders. So that's my take on Mr. Schumer. What do you think? Tell us about you.
Okay, well, thank you. Thanks very much for having me and giving me the opportunity to talk to people that you know about this. First of all, I think the thing that makes me the most qualified to serve in the US Senate is my 33 plus year association with one of our greatest statesmen, Lyndon LaRouche. Also, because that means I'm battle tested. You remember the threat that Schumer delivered when it was said that Donald Trump wanted to reorganize the intelligence agencies. And Schumer on Rachel Maddow said, well, that would be stupid because they have 6 ways from Sunday to get back at you. And as you well know, some of us were just observing this past weekend, the 100-year anniversary of LaRouche's birth. And we also reviewed a little bit the witch hunt that was leveled against him, who had run for president 8 times, who had publications with hundreds of thousands of subscribers, which were shut down by the US government. Here he was, a presidential candidate, called every name in the book, and they did all they could to totally black him out of existence. And then they used the fact that they had tarred him with all these names to run a crazy witch hunt mock trial, sentencing him to 15 years in prison on conspiracy charges. So I know what I'm up against. And I would say that Schumer has been in Washington for 42 years, 18 in the House, and it will be 24 in the Senate this year, because both parties will not run a serious campaign against him. The Republican Party has never really tried to challenge him. They don't want to go through what happened to the former president, or what is still going on against Trump, the FBI raids and so on. So I thought that it was necessary that someone who knew what she was getting into took on this race, also because we are now in exactly that crisis that LaRouche warned about, frankly, way back in the 50s. If you shut down your industry, if you shut down your manufacturing, if you declare you have a post-industrial consumer economy, then you will experience the collapse of the, not century, but perhaps millennium. I mean, we are in that collapse, and we have powers in the city of London and Wall Street, this new so-called King Charles, who with their Great Reset want to shut down food production and fossil fuels altogether. You know, part of this collapse is a mistake. Part of it is deliberate. I'm not worried about splitting hairs over the difference, but what I'm saying is, why don't we change the policy? If you're not suicidal, then we've got to have a totally new system. We have to have a dialogue among the major powers, US, Russia, China, India, hopefully, and reorganize this thing. And clearly there are others pushing us toward even nuclear war.
Yeah, yes. And it seems like we're on the brink of that. Tell us about today. What do you see is happening right now that we need to be really concerned with?
Well, we've all heard the expression, the fog of war. So I'm going to be a little careful to say too much because I don't know exactly what's going on the ground. I do know that there was this NATO-backed offensive. And what I think we can say clearly is that for anyone who doubted it, it should be clear at this point that Ukraine really has nothing to do with this war. This is a war of the UK, the US, and NATO to destroy Russia. And if they have to grind up every single Ukrainian citizen into hamburger meat to achieve their objective, they're perfectly happy to go ahead and do that, just as they clearly didn't give a hoot for the population of Afghanistan, which was used in a similar proxy war. What they are grossly miscalculating, and again, or they are calculating this because the London Economist had an article way back in March of 2007 proposing a nuclear showdown with Russia over the Russian invasion of Ukraine. That was the forecast from the London Economist. So clearly they've had this plan for some time, but Russia cannot afford to lose. And if you have the British and the Pentagon and the State Department taking the position that Russia cannot be allowed to win, well, then you have a very, very serious conflict. Russia cannot afford to have a Nazi-dominated regime on its border that has nuclear weapons. Americans should remember from the Cuban Missile Crisis that President Kennedy was prepared to risk nuclear war to ensure that there were not nuclear warheads on Cuba, which it turned out there were. But in Kennedy's time, we had an adult who was not suffering from dementia. As president of the United States, we had diplomatic channels. We had ways to get around the Dulles brothers and other nefarious influences. Today, we have a Senate. I mean, this is another reason why the Senate voted 100-0 to declare Russia a state sponsor of terrorism. Now, if Biden were to go along with that, which so far he said he won't, that means all diplomatic ties are ended. That means two major nuclear superpowers have no channel in which to deliberate to stop a conflagration which could annihilate the entire human species. That's how idiotic the Senate is. So, back to your question, well, Russia clearly was winning. The US was funneling tons, billions of dollars of weapons into these people. There was some kind of counteroffensive taking part of Kharkiv, I think, or Kherson. And it's not really clear what will happen. I know people are expressing concern that Russia may really go on the offensive now because Russia has been very clear. They've been holding back. They don't want to take all of Ukraine. If they wanted to level Ukraine, they could have done it in about 4 days. Why does Kiev still have electricity and running water? They're having blackouts now. The Ukrainians shelled the Zaporizhia nuclear plant and they actually destroyed the power supply for the nuclear plant. So and now the Russians have started bombing infrastructure in Ukraine. But if Russia was really determined to wipe out Ukraine, why was Kiev in such good shape that Nancy Pelosi, Mitch McConnell, Jill Biden, and everyone and their brother and their mother and their aunt could go to Kiev? So Russia's been restrained, hoping to get someone to come to their senses, to come to a negotiated settlement. If it's clear that no one in the West will come to their senses, then I think we're in a new phase, which is extremely dangerous. And we in the United States better get our congressmen on the phone, go to their local office, tell them we want no part of this. The congressmen, unfortunately, are a bunch of millionaires. They are isolated from what people think, and the media is trying to act like everyone is siding with Ukraine. And I can tell you from my organizing and the thousands of people I'm in contact with, that it's just not true. Americans don't see the point of sending billions of dollars to Ukraine, especially given the difficulties that we are experiencing here. And some of the smarter ones also know, and a lot of people are aware of the Nazi problems of the Ukrainian regime.
The other thing that's happening, it seems, if people are watching, we're seeing the economy in the world impacted by this whole alignment of nations in the way that they, in NATO and otherwise, are putting themselves together. We've got the Green New Deal and all of these other things. We've got the fertilizer shortage, the food shortage, the blackouts, the attack on fossil energy, all of these things. And in the wake of that, we have nuclear energy that could be used. California shutting down their nuclear plants, now having blackouts and all of this. Seems to me, and to a lot of common people like me, that we have very poor leadership. And like you said, maybe not by mistake, but on purpose. We know some of the things that people have done and the view that they have about world population. They want to decrease the world's population. And so, of course, why not favor a nuclear war? If the elite could survive a nuclear war, then all they need is a few common folk like us to take care of their slavery issues, I guess we could call it. Anyway, that's kind of bluntly put, but it seems that be the thinking of some people in charge.
Yes, I used to have a dear friend, now departed, named Godfrey Binaisa, the former president of Uganda, who said the British policy toward Africa was to kill everyone off and just keep enough of them to shine their shoes and lead them on the safari tours. So, I'll tell you, a lot of people in Africa are not really thrilled about flying the flag at half-mast to honor the late Queen of England, who was responsible for so much genocide on the planet, along with her late consort, Prince Philip, who wanted to be reincarnated as a deadly virus so he could get rid of the excess population. But you're right. And see, this will be their undoing if we can ourselves not lose hope and not become fearful, because the arrogance of this billionaire set, the Great Reset, Green New Deal, Davos set, can be their downfall, right? It, like what happened in 2016 to Hillary Clinton. She did have 17 intelligence agencies deployed to make sure she got the election. She did steal the nomination, possibly from Bernie Sanders. I don't know if he would have gotten the nomination, but she sure stole a lot of votes from him. That was revealed in the emails. Now, we never discussed the content of those emails, which she never denied. We only discussed that the Russians supposedly did the hack, which also was never proven and in fact is disproven, right? But what was it? It was this unbelievable arrogance that it was just locked up. And you remember the television personalities. That was my favorite part of that whole election process, in the middle of the night in tears that Hillary had not won the 2016 election. And we're in a similar moment, just that we could have nuclear war. So that's the danger. But these people, they think they have something under their control that they don't. They don't. And that's our advantage. But we have to organize, and we cannot succumb to pessimism. And part of what I want to get the message to Americans is, look, this old rotten system is bankrupt. It is coming down. So don't sell your birthright for a bowl of pottage. That is, don't beg for crumbs when you can change the entire system right now. That's what we have to fight for. We have to have in mind what the United States would look like had Kennedy not been assassinated. What would the world look like had Lyndon LaRouche not been put in prison but been allowed to be president? That's the standard of living we should have, not just barely getting by and not getting evicted or having 5 families move into our living room or whatever people are going through right now.
What seems to have happened is since 9/11, 21 years ago, is that we begin to lose liberties, and subsequently we wake up in the day and hour in which we live and find a politicized police force, FBI, police state, the Department of Justice, invading people's homes and taking what they want. And it looks a lot like 1930 in Germany. And we have a dictatorship in this country, and a lot of us see that, and yet it seems like if you have enough money to throw in somebody's campaign, you can keep the Senate under the control of these elite, these ruling class people. And so we face that kind of issue. That's a good note. I appreciate your optimism. And so we need to hear some of that. And tell us how you can win and upseat this Schumer, and in the process, help the whole world. The whole world is in trouble because we have a bad leadership in this country. So how can you make the difference?
Well, we can make the difference. And look, I don't know. I'm not totally optimistic that I can control everything that happens once we get to the ballot box. We've just seen a bit much of that, and I don't know that we've had the reforms that we need. Although I must say there's a group called Audit New York, which has made some great strides here to try and restore the integrity of the elections. But I would say more broadly, we can win the policy. That is, you can create a moral outrage at the insanity of this, and you can create the conditions where these politicians cannot get away with what they are doing to us. And I think that's really the point of this campaign. My campaign is bringing the citizens back into the electoral process. The fact that I alone, no party, no individual succeeded at meeting the new ballot requirements in the state, except for myself. I was the only one to file over 45,000 signatures gathered in a 6-week window of time to place my name on the ballot. And we did such a good job, no one even filed an objection. We filed 66,000 signatures, and it was sort of, they were just very well done. And I was aware of the pitfalls, and I had a good team, and we knew all of the nasty, picky little rules. What did that do? 66,000 New Yorkers signed to put my name on the ballot. That meant we talked to probably 150,000, because everyone doesn't sign that you go to, and we were getting out literature. That already was huge. And it creates the conditions where now I can say to Schumer and others, how dare you call me a fringe candidate? You're the ones who tripled the signature requirement, saying that you didn't want frivolous campaigns. So while Democrats and Republicans only need 15,000 signatures to get on the ballot, I had to get triple that amount with zero press, zero party backing, and clearly, therefore, have the largest grassroots campaign machine in the state. So there is a legitimate reason to demand that Schumer debate me, for example. I am putting billboards up in New York City. I want to prod him into this. I have a beautiful one up right now on the Gowanus Expressway that says U.S. out of NATO, dump Schumer, vote Diane Sare, November 8th. I'm determined to break the blackout and force this guy into an open fight on his rotten policies. And I think that will do more to liberate our nation than, almost anything else I could do right now.
Excellent. Well, we know that you're in New York. What could an Oklahoman do for you? We can pray for you. We know we can do that, and we can get concerned about our nation and that kind of thing. Is what could we do to help your campaign?
Well, one is donate. Any American citizen or green card holder is eligible to give up to $2,900 to a federal campaign of personal funds, not corporate money. I'm not getting any dark money, so that is urgently needed and would help. The other is to spread the word, use social media, use Facebook, write letters to the editor. Schumer is a national menace. He's the majority leader, so there's no reason why the press in Oklahoma or Texas or Massachusetts should not cover this race. In fact, Schumer should be called by people from all over the country saying, how come you're not debating Diane Sare? She's on the ballot. She turned in 66,000 signatures. We can put that kind of pressure on him. And then also, if people are feeling rambunctious and energetic, come to New York, come up here and help in the last phase, because we're going to need people getting out literature, holding up banners, running all over the state. It's a big state. Yes. With about 19 million people. So there's a lot to be done here.
And your win would not only impact New York, but it would impact Oklahoma. We are an energy state. We're one of the fossil fuel states. We also could be an advocate of nuclear energy right here. We had an opportunity in this. The media and other folk helped keep nuclear plants from being built in Oklahoma, but we need the truth out about the real things that could help. And of course, we're natural gas people here, and so lots of ways that your campaign's important to Oklahoma and to the world, to Europe right now. Europe, a lot of people don't understand. Europe is about ready to go back into the dark ages, literally, because of the energy and the food and all of these things. Is this idea of taking down governments and populations so that the elite can rule. Well, listen, I could talk to you all day long. I so appreciate what you're doing, and I hope in some way, I hope in a big way, some small way, we could hear right here off of my podcast. Get the word out, but in a big way, I hope people will pick up on this and see the importance of electing you and candidates like you and getting ourselves. Let us put our what we're saying with our mouths into practice and actually see what we do. It'd be good for a handful of Oklahomans to come up to help you with your campaign. So yes. Give us some contact information, and we will get off of here today. And hopefully this is just one of several interviews and podcasts we'll be doing. But give us some contact information.
Great, thanks. Well, the phone number for the campaign is 646-328-1932. That's 646-328-1932. That's the year that FDR became president. I think it's a good year.
Yeah.
And my website is Sare, which is spelled S-A-R-E, S like Sunday, A-R-E, 4, spelled out F-O-R, Senate, SENATE.com. So SareForSenate.com is the website. People can sign up there to volunteer, to donate, and find all kinds of leaflets and things you can print and circulate also.
All right. Well, Diane, we so appreciate it. God bless you. And we want to do what we can to see that you can reach your goal. And thank you for being willing to take the heat. And we know that you're ready for the attacks, and you're already having some of that. And People will try to discredit you, but we know what that's all about. And I encourage people to get to know more about Lyndon LaRouche. You know, this thing of the invasion, we didn't even get to talk about the I call it an invasion or a takeover of Trump's resort home, or whatever the media want to call that or spin that. But what a what a what a deal on that. But it was not, as the media reports, a first time this has happened. That happened to Randy Weaver and Lyndon LaRouche and everybody in between that has stood in the way of this idea that of a ruling class, a some sort of a royal elitist group ruling the rest of us, and that is so against everything our founding fathers was for. We want liberty, so the best to you. Thank you so kindly for sharing your time with us.
Thank you.